you to leave for my sake." There was a strange look in their eyes that day. Not sadness, not anger, just something heavy, like they were already gone, even though they were still standing in front of me. The kind of look that makes your stomach twist before a single word is said. I already knew what was coming. "I think I should go," they whispered, almost like they were trying not to wake something between us. I didn't answer right away. I just looked at them, trying to figure out what part of them made that choice. Their mind or their heart. It wasn't a fight. No yelling. No blaming. Just this quiet space between us that felt too loud to handle. They started explaining how things weren't working, how they didn't want to keep holding me back, how maybe I'd be happier without them around. And I listened, not because I agreed, but because they needed to let it out. Then, finally, I spoke. "I'm not permitting you to leave for my sake." Their face shifted, confused, caught off guard. "I'm not asking you to stay because it's easier," I continued. "I'm not begging you to stay because I can't survive alone. I just want you to know this. If you're leaving because you think I'll be better off without you, you're wrong." That's when their eyes welled up. They weren't leaving because they stopped caring. They were leaving because they thought it was the kindest thing to do. But kindness isn't walking away thinking you're a burden. Kindness is staying when things are hard and finding new ways to breathe together when the air feels thin. "You're not holding me back," I said quietly. "You're part of what pushes me forward." And it wasn't dramatic. There were no big speeches. Just small, quiet truths, the ones that matter most. I wasn't trying to control them. I just wanted to stop the story in their head that said they were the problem. Because they weren't. They were the reason I smiled on hard days. The reason I kept showing up for life, even when I wanted to disappear. The reason my world didn't feel so cold anymore. I didn't want them to stay out of guilt or fear or habit. I wanted them to stay because they believed they still belonged here, with me. And maybe that's the hardest part of love. Telling someone they're free to go, but making sure they don't leave based on a lie they made up in their own heart. The silence after that was long. But it wasn't awkward. It was full. Full of things we both felt but hadn't said out loud in a long time. And slowly, very slowly, they sat back down beside me. Didn't promise anything. Didn't say much at all. But they stayed. Not because I begged. Not because I made it hard to leave. But because I gave them one small truth to hold on to. That love isn't about carrying someone else's weight. It's about walking side by side, even when it hurts. That night was quiet in the kind of way that almost felt sacred. No loud music. No distractions. Just the soft hum of the world outside and two people sitting close, not sure how to start again. They kept their eyes low, picking at a thread on their sleeve, like they were trying to find courage in something small. I didn't rush them. I didn't speak first. I just stayed there, close enough to feel present, far enough to let them breathe. And then finally they said it. "I didn't try to leave because I stopped caring. I tried to leave because I don't know how to stay without messing things up." The words hit me like a quiet storm. I looked over, but they still weren't meeting my eyes. I always mess it up. Every time I start to feel like I belong somewhere, like I matter, panic. It's like a part of me doesn't believe it's real. Like maybe if I leave first, it won't hurt as much when it falls apart. That's when I saw it. Not fear of me, but fear of being enough. Fear of being truly loved without needing to earn it, fix it, or prove it every day. "I've never been the person someone fought for," they said, voice shaking just a little. "And when you said you didn't want me to leave for your sake, I didn't know what to do with that." I stayed quiet for a moment, letting their words sit. Then I replied, soft but steady. "You don't have to know what to do. You just have to know this. I don't love the version of you who's perfect. I don't need you to have it all figured out." That's when they finally looked up. Eyes glassy, expression unsure. "You really mean that?" "I do," I said. "I don't love you because you're strong or calm or always okay. I love you even when you're scared. Even when you doubt yourself. Even when you want to run." Something about hearing that cracked something open in them. They didn't cry, but they looked like someone who hadn't heard those words before, or maybe just never believed them. "I've been carrying that fear for years," they admitted. "That one day, Someone will look at me and realize I'm not worth it. That all the love will disappear when they see how broken I really am. I shook my head. You don't need to be perfect to be loved. You just need to stay long enough to see that I'm not leaving when things get hard. They leaned into me then, not fully, just enough for our shoulders to touch. And that small bit of contact, it said more than 1,000 words could. For the first time, I felt them trying to stay. Not out of duty, not out of guilt, but because maybe, just maybe, they believed they didn't have to run this time. It happened 2 weeks later. Just a normal afternoon. Nothing dramatic. No fight. No tension. We were walking through a small weekend market, fingers brushing every now and then, sunlight warming the air between us. It should have been peaceful. Easy. But then we passed this little corner of the market. A man shouting harshly at someone, loud enough to turn heads. Something about the tone, the sharpness in his voice, the way it echoed. It made them freeze beside me, completely still, like their whole body had shut down without warning. I looked at them, trying to understand. Their eyes had gone distant. Their shoulders had tensed. I reached for their hand, but they pulled away slightly. Not mean, just scared. We should go, they whispered. So we did. We walked away from the market, down some quiet side street. I didn't ask questions right away. I just stayed close, matching their pace, letting them have a moment. Once we found a bench under a tree, they sat down slowly, hands fidgeting in their lap. And then, out of nowhere, they said it. He sounded like my father. I didn't speak, didn't move. I just listened. He used to yell like that, all the time. Sometimes at my mom, sometimes at me, sometimes at the walls. It didn't even matter. That sound, that sharp, angry shouting, it still lives somewhere in my chest. Their voice broke a little then. I thought I was over it. I thought I had buried it deep enough to not feel anything when stuff like that happened. But today, it felt like I was 8 again. My heart cracked hearing it. Not just because of what they said, but how hard it was for them to say it at all. They had always carried a quiet strength, a way of moving through the world like they didn't need anyone to pick them up. But now, here they were, peeling back that strength to show the part of them still hurting, still healing. I never told anyone that before, they said, voice barely above a whisper. I didn't want to seem dramatic, or weak, or stuck in the past. I turned to them gently. You're not weak, I said. You're brave. It takes more strength to speak than it does to pretend. They looked at me then, something raw and unguarded in their eyes. I think that's why I wanted to leave before, they admitted. Because I was scared this would happen, that something would trigger me, and you'd look at me differently. Like I'm broken, like I'm damaged. I shook my head slowly. No, I look at you now, and I see someone who's still here, despite everything. Their eyes softened, and maybe for the first time they believed it. They didn't need fixing. They didn't need to explain every crack in their story. They just needed to know they were still lovable, even when their past showed up without warning. That day changed something again. Not in a huge movie-style moment, but in the quiet way people shift when they finally stop running from their own story and let someone else stand beside them in it. The idea to get away came naturally. No big plans, no fancy trip, just a quiet weekend somewhere far enough to feel new, but close enough to not feel like running. A little cabin near a lake, surrounded by trees and sky and space to breathe. They were hesitant at first, not because of the trip itself, but because the idea of pausing life felt unfamiliar. They were used to staying busy, used to distracting themselves. But this time they said yes. Felt like a small win. We packed light, just a few clothes, snacks, and things that didn't need screens or noise. On the way there, the road was calm, windows down, music soft. We talked about random things again. Food we wanted to try, dreams we hadn't touched in years, songs we had on repeat for no reason. They laughed more on that drive than I'd seen in weeks. And for a moment, everything felt okay. But sometimes, peace can be too quiet, and silence has a way of making certain thoughts louder. That night at the cabin, after dinner, we sat outside watching the stars. It should have been beautiful, but I could feel them slipping into their thoughts again. Their hands clenched slightly in their lap. Their breathing got tighter. "What's wrong?" I asked softly. They shook their head. "Nothing. It's fine." But it wasn't, and I knew it. I didn't push, but I stayed close. Eventually, they whispered, "It's just hard sometimes to feel happy and not wait for something bad to happen." That one sentence felt like a window into their soul. They weren't afraid of being happy. They were afraid of losing it. They explained it slowly, how every time they had found a moment of peace in the past, something had gone wrong. A phone call, a fight, a goodbye they didn't see coming. So now even calm felt like a warning. "I don't want to ruin this," they said. "But my brain keeps telling me it won't last." I reached for their hand this time, firm but gentle. "You're not ruining anything. This moment, it's real. And even if tomorrow brings something hard, tonight is still ours." They looked at me, really looked, like they were searching my face for signs of disappointment or doubt. But I wasn't going anywhere. Not because things were perfect, but because they mattered more than comfort or ease. Just when I thought the moment might settle, we heard a loud bang in the distance. Maybe a branch falling or an animal scurrying nearby. It startled both of us, but they flinched hard, panic rising fast in their eyes. Their chest tightened, their body tensed up. It wasn't the sound itself. It was the way it reminded them of nights that weren't safe. I pulled them close, arms around their back. No words this time, just steady breathing, hoping they'd feel mine and match it. And slowly they did. "I hate this," they said against my shoulder. "I hate that my body still reacts like I'm not safe." I held them tighter. "You are safe. Even when your body forgets, I'll keep reminding you." Took a while for their heart to slow down again. But when it did, they didn't pull away. They stayed close. And for the first time that night, I felt them let go. Not of the fear, but of the shame around it. And that was a different kind of healing.